This is the introductory lesson into the global migrations today. I will also talk about the history of modern migrations. Migration is usually defined as a movement from one place to another. International migrants cross borders, while internal migrants move from one place to another inside the country, from rural to urban areas, intra-urban migration, and circularly. Besides work-related or voluntary migrations, there are forced migrations as a result of armed conflicts and persecution. This is the reason behind other categories of migrants such as asylum seekers, refugees, displaced persons, and irregular migrants. Currently, many movements are temporary. Thus, we speak of circular migrations or mobility. For example, labor migrants, students, and researchers embark on migration to accumulate resources, be they financial capital, knowledge, know-how, social capital, and return with the intention to invest and take part in national and local development. Thanks to information and communication technology, mobile phones, satellite TV, social media, migrants' networks spread across national states, linking migrants, non-migrants, and migrants to be, and profoundly changing the everyday lives of all. Digital nomads, transnational migrants, businessmen, entrepreneurs are new types of migrants in our contemporary globalized world. Migrations are as old as the humankind. It is estimated that the earliest humans moved from Africa, Ethiopia to Eurasia some 120,000 or 60,000 years ago. Another theory posits that they moved to Southeast Asia and further to Australia, then to Europe and Americas. These first migrations were driven by climate and food availability and other ecological reasons. As time passed and cultures became more sedentary, wars and colonialism began to fuel mobility. The obvious examples are ancient Greece, Rome, and China. The modern history of global migration is divided into four periods. The first is a mercantile capitalism, 1500 to 1800, which is characterized by outflows of Europeans to both Americas, Africa, Asia, and Oceania. Europeans came to dominate over large parts of the world. Over 10 million of African slaves were transferred into Americas, and together with European colonists, they changed the ethnic and racial composition of the New World. The second period is industrialization, early in the 19th century, when some 50 million Europeans moved to the New World, 12% of the global European population. This was the first period of globalization, 1800 to 1929, characterized by massive flows of capital, raw materials, goods and people between Europe, Americas, Asia and the Pacific. Large-scale emigration was interrupted by the outbreak of the World War I, leading to 4 decades of very low mobility. The fourth is the period of post-industrial migration from the middle 1960s up to date. Migration became truly global in scope, the reason why Castells and Miller coined the term Age of Migration. Migrations intensify and diversify with the development because of enhanced capabilities and aspirations of individuals, families, and groups to move. Over time, as is the case with the advanced market economies, emigrations decrease and immigrations increase. Rural to urban movements slacken, while other forms of internal mobility are on the rise, urban to urban, and in particular, circular mobility. Now I will introduce my colleague, Zsolt Gál, who will tell us something about the economic effects of global migrations.
Migration has widespread economic effects on the host countries. It influences the labor market, the wages, prices and profits, and the state of public finances. However, on the macroeconomic level, these effects tend to be rather small or marginal. Popular negative beliefs like migrants are taking the jobs of the natives and depressing their wages, or positive ones like migration can easily solve all the problems of aging, are usually quite far from the reality. There is no empirical evidence, in other words. The labor migration flows from the Central and Eastern European countries have been very much in line with the assumptions of the so-called neoclassical theory, the push and pull factors. Central and Eastern European countries are in a process of gradual transformation from emigration to immigration countries. Quite often, we can find a large contrast between the sharp anti-immigration rhetoric of the political elites and the real development of migration processes and policies.